Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Betty Berry, and I made the 77th Women's Cursillo at St. Cyril and Methodius in Danville. I grouped at the Decoria of St. Gianna Molla, and I'm a member of St. Catherine Labouré Parish. The topic for this morning's Rollo is leadership in the Cursillo movement. And as I look out there today at all of you, every one of you are leaders. And you know, we're all called to be leaders by virtue of our baptism. It's not an option. We are all called to evangelize. But to be a leader, you don't need to have a degree. You don't need to be a community organizer or a public speaker, but a person who tries to live their Christian life to the fullest and takes every opportunity to share that with others in their environment. Leadership is accomplished through personal contact. But for now, we're going to look at the leadership qualities within the Cursillo movement that will guide us to facilitate the pre-Cursillo, the Cursillo weekend, and the post-Cursillo, which involves the Ultreya and the School of Leaders. Leaders should be active in all phases of the Cursillo movement. The pre-Cursillo leader requires you to be a witness of Christ at all times and in all environments. The only way we can interest potential candidates to experience Cursillo is by living a conscious and growing life of grace through personal contact on a regular basis and establishing a sincere friendship with that person. This process takes time, but it should awaken in the potential candidate the desire for conversion. They will see what you have and they will want it too. And it is okay to invite your friend to your friendship group. Regional says this is a good idea as well as national. This creates an interest in them. It gets them to know what it's all about and a desire to make a weekend. But you don't want to tell them all about it, so you want to be a little bit careful what you're saying there at your friendship group. You want to save some surprises for the weekend. So no one, though, should serve on a team for the Cursillo unless they are a member of the School of Leaders. However, we don't enforce that currently in the Harrisburg Diocese. We have a large diocese, and that makes it difficult for many people to attend, and we realize this because of the differences and our daily lives, in our family lives. Some people work on Saturdays, and the distance. But we've been trying to meet these challenges. And a few ways that we've been trying to meet these challenges here in the Harrisburg Diocese is by having School of Leaders on the web. That's schoolofleadersharrisburg.org. As you probably noticed, this talk is being videotaped. And that means that afterwards, for those people who are not here today, or even those who are here, if you want to go back and look at this talk later, you can simply go to the website and then answer a few questions about the talk and submit your answers, and then you will be registered as having attended this School of Leaders. And we also keep track of everyone who attends, because we have a registration coordinator, and she keeps all of our records so we know everyone who attends in person or on the web, and you will get credit for doing that. Another way that we've been trying to get more people involved in the School of Leaders is through a new initiative, taking the School of Leaders on the road. And we did this for the first time in December to St. Jude Parish in Mifflintown. And that was great. We got to see some Cursillistas that we haven't seen in a long time. And we want to do some more of that. We have some dormant parishes where we haven't seen some of our Cursillo friends. And we want to get them more involved too. And we want to get them more active. And that's one way that we're looking at. Another way that we might be considering for the future, it's not currently available, is through Skype, to get them to attend with us and to be able to relate to us right here as we're having our meetings. They can actually comment too. But that's down the road a bit. The School of Leaders is the reunion and the Ultreya for leaders. Just as the Ultreya is the hub around which the friendship groups meet and revolve, so the school is the hub around which the whole movement revolves through the spokes, which are the leaders. The leaders should be faithful and committed to this community. Besides the weekly group reunions and the weekly leaders, Ultreya, The leader should encourage all Cursillistas to consider the following: regular spiritual direction, an annual retreat, attend Cursillo closings, attend diocesan and regional events, spiritual exercises, and continuous palanca, prayer, and sacrifice. Without imposing or dictating, the leader should help the new Cursillistas find friends so that they can form more friendship groups. Leaders should be ready to contribute their time and their effort for the work to be done, even if it means limiting your activities in other groups, even if it's other church groups. To be a Cursillista leader means to make Cursillo your primary apostolate. Cursillo offers a few techniques for personal contact. One is called sounding or knowing. Normally this takes place the first day of the Cursillo weekend. To sound is to inquire with caution, to analyze the personality and the circumstances to ascertain if a person's soul is aching, the person's present attitude, the circumstance of that person's life, how to get to know the Cursillista, how to understand the Cursillista, and how to convey the truth to the Cursillista effectively. This must take place at appropriate times of the week, such as breaks or mealtime. And another method for personal contact is called stabbing or prodding. This may be better expressed as seeking to direct or to enlighten the candidate. On the second day of Cursillo, we look to enlighten them so that they can see more clearly. We want to comprehend them. And on the third day, we prod them so that they can help others see clearly. To stab is to strike with a sword point, as a bullfighter does with a bull. But for us, it's hurling the truth at them, sharply so that it sticks. To place them in the truth and to infuse them with the truth. When one has gotten to know Jane, one can know what to tell her and how to tell her. Our mission is to take the individuals from where they are to where they ought to be. It must be the decisive arrow at the heart of the problem. With stabbing, one must aim high, implant truths in their aspirations, in their possibilities, always bearing in mind, though, that it is more effective to point at a potential than to demand responsibility. The stabbing must penetrate them, stir them up, and pick at their conscience. Only experienced, mature leaders should use this technique, since this is delicate work in which much damage can be done if not handled properly. It is important that these personal conversations end up before the Lord for His clarification and confirmation through prayer and meditation. And you've already heard the term, talk to God about your friend before you talk to your friend about God. And then go back and talk to God again about your friend. And so the first day of the Cursillo weekend, we're getting to know the candidates. The second day, we are understanding them. And the third day, we are responding to them. The basic principles learned on their Cursillo weekend, if well understood and grasped, can direct and orient a person's life and serve as the foundation for the solution of all present and future difficulties. The following power ideas, and you've heard of these before, but they help to express many of the basic criteria, which is the purpose of personal contact to instill. Christ and I are an overwhelming majority. We are the sons and daughters of the Father, brothers and sisters of Christ, temples of the Holy Spirit. Christ is counting on you. Without Christ, we can do nothing. With Christ and His grace, we can do everything. At the end of their 3-day Cursillo weekend, they'll begin their 4th day, and they'll become more aware of their environment, their movable square meter, and how they might affect it. They may find a candidate to recommend, and then that process begins all over again. And in conclusion, I want to say that at some point, every person needs to hear from God. They need to know what God is calling them to do, apart from others. And I believe, though, that the most important leadership role is the one that each of you carries out in your everyday lives. We are all called to be leaders in our environment and to make a difference. We are called to make a difference. And I'd like to share a short story with you. A teacher in New York decided to honor each of her seniors in high school by telling them the difference they each made. She called each student to the front of the class, one at a time. First, she told each of them how they had made a difference to her and to her class. Then she presented each of them with a blue ribbon imprinted with gold letters, which read, "Who I am makes a difference." Afterwards, the teacher decided to do a class project to see what kind of impact recognition would have on the community. She gave each of the students 3 more ribbons and instructed them to go out and spread this acknowledgement ceremony. Then they were to follow up on the results, see who honored whom, and report back to the class in about a week. One of the boys in the class went to a junior executive in a nearby company and honored him for helping him with his career planning. He gave him a blue ribbon and put it on his shirt. Then he gave him 2 extra ribbons and said, "We're doing a class project on recognition, and we'd like you to go out, find somebody to honor, give them a blue ribbon, then give them the extra blue ribbon so they can acknowledge a 3rd person to keep the acknowledgement ceremony going. Then please report back to me and tell me what happened." Later that day, the junior executive went in to see his boss, who had been noted, by the way, to be a grouchy old fellow. And he sat his boss down. He told him that he deeply admired him for being a creative genius. The boss seemed very surprised. The junior executive asked him if he would accept the gift of the blue ribbon and give him permission to put it on him. His surprised boss said, "Well, sure." The junior executive took the blue ribbon and placed it right on his boss's jacket above his heart. And he gave him the last extra ribbon. He said, "Would you do me a favor? Would you take this extra ribbon and pass it on by honoring somebody else? The young boy who first gave me the ribbon is doing a project in school, and we want to keep this recognition ceremony going and find out how it affects people." That night, the boss came home to his 14-year-old son and sat him down. He said, "The most incredible thing happened to me today. I was in my office and one of the junior executives came in and told me he admired me and gave me a blue ribbon for being a creative genius. Imagine, he thinks I'm a creative genius. Then he put the blue ribbon that says, 'Who I am makes a difference,' on my jacket above my heart. He gave me an extra ribbon and asked me to find somebody else to honor. As I was driving home tonight, I started thinking about whom I would honor with this ribbon, and I thought about you. I want to honor you. My days are really hectic, and when I come home, I don't pay a lot of attention to you. Sometimes I scream at you for not getting enough good grades in school and for your bedroom being a mess. But somehow tonight, I just wanted to sit here and, well, just let you know that you do make a difference to me. Besides your mother, you are the most important person in my life. You are a great kid, and I love you." The startled boy started to sob and sob, and he couldn't stop crying. His whole body shook. He looked up at his father and said through his tears, "Dad, earlier tonight I sat in my room and wrote a letter to you and Mom, explaining why I had killed myself and asking you to forgive me. I was going to commit suicide tonight after you were asleep. I just didn't think that you cared at all. The letter is upstairs. I don't think I need it after all." His father walked upstairs and found a heartfelt letter full of anguish and pain. The envelope was addressed, Mom and Dad. The boss went back to work a changed man. He was no longer a grouch, but made sure to let all his employees know that they made a difference. The junior executive helped several other young people with career planning and never forgot to let them know that they made a difference in his life, one being the boss's son. And the young boy and his classmates learned a valuable lesson. Who you are does make a difference. And each of you here today deserve to be honored, I think, with one of those blue ribbons. That is what we do as Cursillistas. We go out into the world to make a difference. No matter who you are or where you are in your life, you are all leaders in your own environments. And you do make a difference. De colores, I love you.